Welcome in Broncos country. We're just going to give it a second to breathe and get our groups in here. And it looks like we are good to go. Welcome to Orange and Blue View, OBV, your obvious choice for Saturday night viewing. I'm your host, Dylan Von Arx, and my co-host Ron White is not here tonight. He's out and about, but we have a great step in for him in Lance Sanderson, a fellow metalhead and Broncos fanatic.
What's up, Dylan? How are you doing, man? It's good to join you. It's been a while since you and I got to sit down and talk a lot of football. We met up at obviously we did the draft shows and that was a blast, but to sit down face to face and have a one-on-one conversation, we haven't been able to do that since the meet and greet last, October. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me on, man.
Of course. And I see we have quite a lively chat already. Let's just say some hi to some folks here. And actually, there's one I wanted to grab in particular from our good friend Todd Osendorf. He said they should change the name of this podcast to Blue and Blue View because Lance and Dylan are both down on the Broncos.
I'm here for it.
Man. This is one when me and Lance are both on the same show. We'll just switch the name to that. I think that's a good idea.
Match it with the Blue Dove Valley Deep Divers hat. Let's have some fun, man.
Exactly, right? All right, we got David coming in saying, evening, everyone. The biggest threat in the West, every team right now, until the Broncos prove themselves right of the league and they can play with the big boys. Yeah, Broncos are going to have to prove themselves because they got some nasty guys all throughout their division and their conference for that matter. So thank you for hopping in with us, David. We have Jaron Washington. Always good to see you in the chat. We beat the Chiefs once last season. I'm sure we can beat them again in Denver. Maybe. And for the Chargers, I'm sure we'll beat them twice again. Ooh, Justin Herbert has not beaten us in Denver, only in LA. I don't know how you feel, Lance, but I'm a little higher on Justin Herbert than at least most of Broncos country that I've seen. I just don't think he's necessarily had the right pieces or the right coaching around him to really facilitate any wins or playoff berths for that matter.
I don't necessarily think it's the offensive pieces because you got to remember they had Keenan Allen in there. They had Hunter Henry at tight end, Gerald Everett this last season. They had Mike Williams for a while, Austin Eckler out of the backfield. They had offensive pieces for sure, but it's always coming down to the defensive side of the football and how often are they injured. That team always has key injuries, whether it's Derwin James at the safety position, whether it's Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa dealing with the leg injuries they had last season. At cornerback, they're always trying to look for answers outside of Asante Samuel. It's a quality roster for sure, especially this year. I really do like this Chargers roster. And like you said, going to the coaching, the bad, horrible, awful, terrible, no good, dirty, bad day coaching decisions of Brandon Staley over the past couple of seasons, that really hampered what that Chargers team could have been over the last couple of years. It's not Justin Herbert by any stretch of the imagination. I think that a big part of it does go to the defensive personnel injuries, and then just, as you said, terrible coaching from Brandon Staley. So I'm huge on Justin Herbert. He's probably a top 7 quarterback in the NFL in terms of talent, in terms of what he brings to the field. So just because he hasn't beaten the Broncos in Denver, only in LA, doesn't mean that he's not a great player by any stretch of the imagination.
Yep, I agree with you there 100%. And when we're here, we'll have DTR, Evening Lance, and DVA. The Chiefs are the only real threat. The other two teams don't worry me at all. Well, I can't necessarily agree there since, especially against the Raiders, we haven't beat them in, 8 straight games now?
9 straight games.
Jesus. Yeah, and we just talked about the Chargers. They've gotten better, especially as it pertains to coaching. So we'll see what happens. We're a unproven team, and until then, we just really haven't proven anything. And the Chiefs are sitting at the top. But I agree with you there for sure.
Yeah, DTR jumped back in with a $10 super chat after that comment saying, good evening, Lance and DVA. Happy Saturday. Looking forward to another great show. Looking forward to have some fun with you, man. This is going to be a blast. We've got a great show lined up for you guys. not only talking about just the teams in general, but the position by position, breaking down these AFC West teams and really like identifying the biggest individual threats. Like that's the big thing here. Individual threats. What are the biggest threats to this Broncos team and their success in 2024? So really excited to be here with you and break down and talk. I don't want to necessarily say anything else other than Broncos football, but something else other than Broncos football a little bit.
Yeah, we got to worry about the guys in our division as well, and that pertains to the Broncos and the hurdles they have to overcome, and maybe something they hope to be in the future. Hopefully, the near future. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
See how this team gets built up. So, yeah, let's jump into it. So, quarterback is where we're going to start today, and I don't think we're going to have much disagreement on who the biggest threat at quarterback is in the AFC West. Aiden O'Connell, just kidding. Patrick Mahomes, obviously two-time Super Bowl MVP. Pairing him with Andy Reid, he's wreaked havoc on the Broncos since he's been in the league. We've only beat him once. Yeah, and he's got all these shiny new weapons, but just sticking with the quarterback, athletic, major, great arm, and his football IQ has increased over the years as well. He's more willing to take the checkdowns. He's not always looking for the deep ball. He adjusts to the game. And I don't see how there could be any other pick here.
No, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the NFL, and I don't think it's particularly close. Like he is up here, like up above my head if you're listening after the fact. But then you got a next tier down where it's like Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, if you want, Joe Burrow, like those guys down there, that second tier. Mahomes is above and beyond. Like you said, the athleticism, the creativity, his ability to throw from multiple different arm slots and throw the ball accurately. Even if he's not looking at his target, he has the no-look pass in his back pocket. He likes to throw that around every now and again as well. But I think you nailed something big time here, Dylan. And his understanding of the game over the course of his career has grown just exponentially. The ability to identify not only where to go with the football, but when. And also then understanding if I can't get there at this particular point, extending the play and then getting the football there as well. Identifying second and third throwing windows is a big part of his game. It makes it so difficult for you to rein him in as a defensive pass rusher because he has the escapability, the athleticism, and then that quick, snappy release to just drive the football from any platform. It doesn't matter. Like he's the biggest threat to the NFL, plain and simple. 2 Super Bowl MVPs, like you said, been to 3 in the last 4 years. This team is just this team is also driven by what he is capable of doing, and it's incredible to watch. To tell you the truth, and I like we have the joke from Todd saying this is the blue and blue view. This show is going to be the red and yellow view essentially because this Chiefs roster top to bottom is just incredible.
Yeah, then you had Andy Reid to boot as his head coach. It's they're going to be here for a while, folks. So we don't like talking them up, but got to give them respect where it's due.
There's a reason they've won 6 straight AFC West championships.
Yeah,
there's a reason for that. Like they are that good. So got to give the devil his credit when it's due.
Exactly. I basically penciled him in for the AFC Championship game every year at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
So. Got to do it. Well, I think we have more of an argument here as we move on to the running backs. Here, Lance, I'll let you start this one off.
All right. So again, the red and yellow view, Isaiah Pacheco is probably the one that I would watch out the most for in terms of the biggest threat at the running back position. Very physical runner, good vision, contact balance. He's hard to bring down. And Dylan, have you ever watched a kid in Walmart put on light up shoes for the first time and then watch them running down the aisle, like just to check out there? That's what that kid runs like. Okay. If you've ever seen that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He runs like he hates the ground beneath him. it's so much fun to watch him run the football. I wish he brought more as a receiver, and they do utilize him a little bit out of the backfield. But in terms of the biggest threat, that's probably the guy. Although I do got to give a shout out to the Chargers here, because you bring in J.K. Dobbins, who, if he's healthy, he's a hell of a running back. But Gus Edwards has always been a really quality rotational back out of the backfield for the Baltimore Ravens. They come on, they join in with a very hard-nosed, physical style of running game that Jim Harbaugh wants to bring for the Chargers. So that's where I would go. If you want to argue it, let's do it. I'm here for this.
Yeah, it's funny that Isaiah Pacheco comparison or analogy you made. It just made me realize that now whenever I get new shoes, no one asks how fast I can run in them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. He is just a mean runner. And God, just with how this Broncos defensive line has been in years past, just getting absolutely killed in the run game, having an opponent like Isaiah Pacheco is just awful for them. Hopefully they can shore that up a little bit. We'll see. But yeah, Pacheco's definitely the pick here. I do like you including Gus Edwards in there. I think he's pretty underrated. He's not a superstar by any means, but
no,
another tough, gritty runner. Big threat in the red zone. I can't remember. He had 13 touchdowns, I believe, last year.
Something like that. Yeah, it was something like that. Ungodly like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's definitely a threat there, and especially with Jim Harbaugh, he likes to run that ball. So there's going to be a lot of touches between him and J.K. Dobbins, like you mentioned, assuming he's healthy. And obviously for the Raiders, their biggest threat is in Green Bay now. Zamir White, not really threatened by that. So once again, the Chiefs, they take this one. So they're got 2 on the board right now, as it were.
Yeah, Gus Edwards did have 13 rushing touchdowns last year. That's just insane. They didn't touch the ball very much in the postseason, which is kind of interesting because with what the Baltimore Ravens like to do in terms of running the football, they've tried to put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands in terms of making him throw the ball over the yard, and they got away from that identity. I don't think that Jim Harbaugh is gonna have that issue. Look at what happened with, J.J. McCarthy. That was one of the big reasons why he slid down the draft board was we don't know if you can trust this guy because Jim Harbaugh ran the football so much and didn't task him with J.J. McCarthy, that is, didn't task him with throwing the ball all over the yard, didn't task him with these critical situations where you need to have this particular play, this particular throw. McCarthy hit those when he needed to, but I think the second half of the Penn State game, they didn't throw the football one time. They just ran it and ran it and ran it. And when you got a guy like Gus Edwards, you get J.K. Dobbins again. If he's healthy, that dude's dynamic as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But Gus Edwards is the prototype for a Jim Harbaugh offense. Tough, physical, nose to the grindstone kind of a player, and is going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, definitely a running back group you don't want to sleep on. Yeah, I know it's the Chargers, and everyone's always down on them. I get it. There's this weird thing. No matter how bad we are or how good they are or whatever, vice versa, we tend to split. So yep. We'll see what happens, man. It could be a different days there in LA with Harbaugh in there. Let's see. Let's look at the chat here for a minute. David, yep. Is this the Chiefs pod or the Broncos pod? Yeah, it's you're going to hear a lot of Chiefs tonight, but there's a few positions I think here that we can argue for some team either than them, hopefully. But there's a reason they've been to the AFC Championship and to the Super Bowl so many times in these past few years.
I think that something we can do, and maybe Dylan, if we get an opportunity to do it again, but let's run through this particular exercise again and name a player on the Broncos that can help to counteract their effectiveness. That might be a fun way to go about this. Can we do that for the rest of the show, you think?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm all for that. That is a great point.
That might help, round this out instead of just honking all over the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Raiders. Let's talk some Broncos football here as well. And if you want to talk about like a Patrick Mahomes killer. I think that one player that we need to watch out for, and this is a bold prediction of mine, PJ Locke. What Vance Joseph does with the safeties in terms of disguising the coverage, his ability to play that single high safety role, roam around all over the field, drop down in the box if you need him to. Like there's some opportunities to bait some throws and make some errors, and the Broncos have done well with that. It's specifically been Josie Jewell and Justin Simmons over the past couple of years, but I think that PJ Locke has the ability to do that, fill into that Justin Simmons role. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great pick there, especially the obvious one would be to go to PS2, but he's not going to be really throwing his direction. Yeah. So, yeah, a guy like PJ Locke really popped off last year, especially in that Packers game that we were at.
Yep.
So we're going to take credit for that one. He
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like,
let's go.
Yeah, but like you said, yeah, he can go down the box. He can play all over the field. And hopefully that transitions over to this season as well. He'll be starting full time. Interested to see what Brandon Jones does as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think PJ Locke is a great pick there, and I have to agree.
How about stopping the running backs? You got to stop Isaiah Pacheco. Who's the guy that stands out to you on that one? I got a good one. It's probably not the one you're going to pick.
Really? Okay. I think I think I'll go with Alex Singleton just because I'm worried about the defensive line breaking. He's going to have to come up and make some tackles, especially if teams, get up a score or two. They're just going to want to run the ball. That's kind of been the Broncos' weakness the past few years. So I think Alex Singleton, like he does every year, he leads the team in tackles. So I think I'd go with him there.
I think we're going to see a big bounce back season from DJ Jones this year in terms of how they're going to use him. So they went out and they got Malcolm Roach in free agency, who is a nose tackle, run stuffing type of guy. Mike Purcell last year battled through a bunch of injuries, and they kind of had to throw DJ Nose at the nose tackle position, which really doesn't fit his skill set. He's more of like a 2-eye or a 3 technique defensive end, and getting him back out to where he's really dominant in terms of getting after the passer between in the A gaps, crossing the face of a guard, or being able to attack the B gaps as well. That's going to be huge for this defensive line. Malcolm Roach, that addition is a lot bigger than people want to really realize. I think that he's going to really eat up the interior and allow DJ Jones to have a big time year this year and get back to his run stopping ways that he showed back in San Francisco, man.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot, and hopefully for the Broncos that rings true, because like I've mentioned several times already, defensive line has been dreadful.
Yep.
And if we get at least it's hard enough for us to get any pressure on the quarterback. If we could stuff the run and force them to throw maybe a little more, that would work wonders.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Awesome. And it looks like we have another super chat from DTR. Thank you so much, DTR. Are either of you familiar with Omar Brown, safety from Nebraska? He was projected as a 5th to 6th rounder, and Denver signed him as a UDFA. This is probably more of a question for Lance. When it comes to UDFAs, I'm not as well versed, so I'll just kick it over to you.
I watched a little bit of Omar Brown, so you're gonna have to kind of bear with me a little bit. Rangy, there's some versatility there. He's a good tackler, I will say that. He drops down into the box pretty well, but I think range is his big thing. Lacks size from what I understand. So I didn't watch a whole lot of him, so take it with a grain of salt on this one. And DTR, I do apologize for not giving you a more detailed breakdown. But yeah, he's a camp flyer for sure. Probably not going to make the roster. If he does, he'll be a practice squad candidate. But from the way that the safety group looks like, he could surprise some people if he can show that range and take the football away a little bit. But yeah, I don't have a lot to say on Omar Brown other than just the baseline view of from what I got to see with him at Nebraska.
Alrighty, awesome. Let's move on to our next position group, wide receivers. So we might be able to have a little more debate about this. Personally, and I know the Chiefs have, the receiver. We're not actually sure who all is going to be there. If you guys follow the news there with Rashee Rice, and who knows, another receiver there could be arrested by the time we finish this podcast. But I'm actually pretty high on the Raiders. I'm a big fan of Devontae Adams, obviously great receiver, all-pro receiver. Obviously the quarterback might be an issue there. We don't know. But in terms, if we're just focusing on wide receiver and their skills, Devontae Adams, he's just so smooth, always open. And I love, and I got some pushback last night for talking about this a little bit, but I think Jacoby Myers is a pretty solid number 2 guy. I believe around 700 yards last season and 8 touchdowns. That's not too shabby. And he cooked the Broncos pretty bad last season. Obviously,
twice.
Twice. The cornerback 2 spot was a little rough there. And I'll kick it over to you, Lance. What are your thoughts?
So you went in the exact same direction as I did, but you forgot that they also brought in Michael Gallup from the Dallas Cowboys. So you had Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and then Michael Gallup into the fold. Jalen Guyton as well, former Los Angeles Charger. Like there's some dynamic ability here in terms of creating some. What's the right word? Like interesting and convoluted matchup dictations here. Like Devontae Adams is uncoverable. You line him up at outside, line him up in the slot, just let him go to work. He's going to do his thing. Gallup can do the same thing. You can line him up outside, put him in motion. He's got some gadget versatility if you need it. Not that he's the best at it, but he has that there. Jacoby Myers is a demon over the middle of the field. Guyton has the deep speed. Like that's the easily. I think it's the best wide receiver group in the AFC West, and without Devontae Adams, it's still a solid group. I want to give a quick shout out though to what the Chargers were able to do to rebuild that wide receiver room. You got DJ Chark in free agency after the draft. Quentin Johnston had struggles last year catching the football, but the talent is definitely there. Then you bring in Ladd McConkey, who is a separation creator like you can't believe. The dude is just an incredible route runner. You bring in Brendan Rice, who's a good route runner as well with reliable hands. And then Cornelius Johnson, who was one of my guys at the wide receiver position in this draft. They really rounded out that wide receiver room in Los Angeles to make it a very difficult situation to navigate defensively, especially for the Broncos, who, like you said, Dylan, you've got cornerback 2 issues. Obviously, Surtain's going to line up one-on-one against Devontae Adams, DJ Chark. Like those guys are probably going to be locked down one-on-one. But who's going to start at cornerback 2? And that's the big thing. Who do you think has the best opportunity to line up against a guy like a Michael Gallup or like a Quentin Johnson? Like, who's the next best cornerback on this roster for the Broncos?
My heart says Riley Moss just because of how much we moved up to get him. I do like his skill set as a man corner. It's just it's hard to say because we haven't seen him play much, especially at this level. And I mean, you got Chris Abrams-Drain, he's there too. I'm pretty low on already forgetting his name, Damari Mathis. He completely soured me. He just came in and got replaced by a street free agent. Like that's unacceptable. I mean, obviously he was I believe a 4th round pick, but he showed a lot of promise in year 1. But if I was to put money on it, I think I would go with Riley Moss.
I'm right there with you. I like Levi Wallace a lot. But I think that like quality cornerback 3, really, like a rotational cornerback. You want to put a guy with a little bit more chops out there. I'm a huge fan of Chris Abrams-Drain, though. Like I think that his not only the position versatility, but the scheme versatility had me. I liked him a lot more than his teammate Ennis Rakestraw Jr., who was drafted, I believe, in the 2nd round by the Lions. Like I like Chris Abrams-Drain more than Ennis Rakestraw Jr. because a couple things: the fluidity in his hips, the fluidity with his coverage versatility in terms of scheme versatility, positional versatility, and this dude knows how to hit. Like he comes down with a freaking vengeance, man. It's a great tackler. So Yeah, I think Chris Abrams' reign is an interesting one here, but I like the way you're thinking here. Riley Moss, man, I really, really, really am intrigued by what he brings to this team because, again, you've got position versatility with him, coverage versatility. He's a great tackler. He's got great length. He uses it very well. Ball skills are there. So, the cornerback two is the most interesting position battle outside of quarterback on this Broncos roster this season.
Definitely, man. I totally agree with you there. And before we move on, let's pull up our boy, Michael Ronquillo.
So,
Good
Ron,
evening, Lance and Dylan on Orange and Blue View. Go Broncos. Always good to see you here, Michael. We love having you open the show and close the show. And there was one comment I wanted to get to here. Maybe silver and black glasses on. Okay, yeah, here's the one I actually want to find. Dylan is enamored with the other teams in the division. Well, when we're doing this exercise and just while you're going along with us, think how the guys we're mentioning pair up with who the Broncos have starting there. Are you going to take Bo Nix over a Justin Herbert, a Patrick Mahomes? No. Running backs, I could see an argument there for sure. I have a sample size with Pacheco. I'm not sure how Javante's knee's doing. We'll see what Estimate does. I'm pretty high on him. And then as for wide receivers, I just can't. We have some talent there, but again, unproven. We don't know what they are yet. Yep. Tim Patrick coming off injury. Troy Franklin, I like, but he's a rookie. Is Sutton going to be here? I don't know. So yeah, it's just you just got to try and have that mindset of like let's match them up with what the Broncos have.
Yeah, that's the big thing. And I was actually talking with Dylan about this before we went live. Like, look at this Broncos roster overall. We're going through and identifying the biggest threats in the AFC West. We really got to kind of hurry through this next part. But like, again, match them up side by side. Wide receivers. The Chiefs wide receivers are probably better than what the Broncos have right now. So are the Raiders. So are the Chargers. Like you could argue the Chargers and the Broncos are on level playing field, but quarterback, running back, offensive line, like the Broncos offensive line is fine. I think it's great. Like they got quality players there. Do they match up with everybody else? Interior defensive lineman. It's hard to say that there's a better interior defensive lineman in the NFL right now outside of Chris Jones. I mean, there's the spoiler alert, by the way. We're both going to land on that guy here in a minute. You've got safeties that this Broncos safety room is depleted after losing Justin Simmons. You move on from Kareem Jackson. PJ Locke is really kind of the guy. What else do you have? Caden Stearns, who can't stay healthy. Brandon Jones, who's been a third safety rotational player for the majority of his career. JL Skinner, who played one defensive snap last year. You're going up against guys like Trevon Merrick and Marcus Epps, who are very quality players with the Vegas Raiders. Spoiler alert again. Like, pair this side by side, and we're trying to go a little bit away from Broncos talk here to give you the biggest threats, but also bring you again how the Broncos can kind of counteract that.
Mm-hmm. You must know your enemy. You got to clear those hurdles, man. And you play these guys twice a year, so we got to dive into this kind of stuff. And it gives us a little. I don't want to say a break from the Broncos talk because we're always talking Broncos, but just a little bit of breath of fresh air. Let's talk about some other teams here.
Yeah.
And speaking about talking about other teams, Speaking
of,
we're gonna move on to the tight end position, and I think everyone knows where we're gonna go here. Spoiler alert! Here come the orange and yellow glasses again. It's Travis Kelce. I know he had some problems last year. Whether you want to blame it on his age or his lady or whatever you want to do, he still showed up when it mattered.
Yep.
And that's the big thing. I think going forward, Travis Kelce, he's not going to be maybe necessarily as consistent, but when the big moments are there, he's going to be called upon and he's going to make those plays. And that's point blank period. That's just what's going to happen. You look at the Chargers, Will Dissly, Hayden Hurst, some solid guys, nothing too scary there though. And then we move on to the Raiders, who, boy, Michael Mayer in his second year and Brock Bowers, that's an interesting group. I'm curious to see how how I don't even know who their offensive coordinator is now that I think about it. But I'll be interested to see how they use them, especially with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell fighting him out there and needing a security blanket.
I think. Oh, so it's Luke Getsy again is who their offensive coordinator is. So good luck.
Womp womp. Yeah.
But so hear me out on this because I've got some info on this one for you. Luke Getsy used to be the tight ends coach for the Green Bay Packers. Like he worked with, Robert Tonyan. He's worked with several different tight ends from the Green Bay Packers for a long time. If you want to find a guy that knows how to utilize the tight ends, athletic, big bodied guys who can move, great catch radius players, Luke Getsy can do it. Like that's it, and that's a big threat for this Broncos team, especially with what they have at the linebacker position. Like to me, if you're stopping anybody for this in the division in terms of stopping tight end position, you know what? I'm going to give a shout out here to a player that I think with more development and health, because there was some that I believe it was a torn pectoral muscle or some kind of shoulder injury with JL Skinner. When he was going through the draft process, he had that shoulder injury. Length, athleticism, physicality, versatility, fluidity in his hips. If JL Skinner can be healthy and show that development, that dude's a freak in the box, man. He's got the ability to cover there. That might be a guy that you can throw out there as an X factor as a defender to cover these tight ends, man. I like that pick.
I totally agree, especially with the linebackers that this Broncos team have. You know, Cody Barton, he's more of a coverage guy, but I think it would be smart to utilize your DBs. And JL Skinner, if he can prove that he's worth keeping around, I'm sure they'll keep him around, but he could be that specialty type player, like you mentioned, covering tight ends, because there's what we've learned with Travis Kelce and even some of the other tight ends that have been in the division. You can't really take away what that tight end's doing. You can limit them, and that's all we can ask to do. And I think JL Skinner is a perfect guy to do that. And I hope he gets some more reps this year.
Yeah. We got Papa Bear, David McElrath jumping in here with the $5 super chat saying, good evening, Broncos country. Dylan, Lance, and Deacon Scott. Hashtag 12 and 5. Hashtag MHH for life. Hashtag buck them with a B 3 times. Hashtag Denver Broncos for life. Hashtag Bo knows. Hashtag Knicks for 6. Thank you, Papa Bear, for joining us. We definitely appreciate your support as always. Every single night, man. You're always in here. You and Michael. Mile High Huddle, Mount Rushmore, man. Like seriously, you guys are way up there on the list of the top supporters for this channel. We definitely appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, 100%, David. You are a king for sure. We appreciate you coming in here every single night. And now we'll throw it. I think let's double up on these. Let's put both tackles, both guards. You want to do it that way?
Yeah, that's kind of how I had my list was just the tackle position in general, guard position, centers as well. We can kind of tie a bunch of this together and hammer through it pretty quickly.
Sounds good. All right. So, yeah, looking at offensive tackles, for once, guys, hey, the Chiefs not looking so hot. Wanya Morris, who? You got Kingsley Suamataia. Is that how you pronounce it?
Suamataia, Kingsley Suamataia.
I got you.
Lucas Niang.
Yeah, right. So, like, Kingsley, good, solid backup for right now. We'll see. And then Jumpy Jawan Taylor. He jumped off sides quite a bit last season.
And was never called for it.
And it was never – yeah, exactly. Oh, especially week 1. That was – oh, my God. Infuriating. Now we're going to skip over to – let's look at the Las Vegas Raiders. Colton Miller, he's been a solid tackle. I didn't think he'd be very good when he was drafted, but he's developed into a pretty decent tackle there for them. And I can't say I know Thayer Mumford Jr. That's an interesting name there. I don't think I've ever heard that before, but I know they also drafted Delmar Glaze. But we'll just have to see how that works out. But the top, easily, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yep.
Rashawn Slater, beast. Joe Alt, beast. They're just two big human beings that hopefully these Broncos edge rushers can get around because we've already had trouble kind of getting after the passer. We might have to rely more on the interior when it comes to playing the Chargers. What do you say, Lance?
I'm right there with you on that because this tackle group, you got Rashawn Slater, who, despite the length issues, recovers so well with his footwork. Joe Alt might be one of the more athletic tackles we've ever seen in terms of getting back in his back pedal, initiating contact, and then recovering with his feet underneath him and staying square to his target. This tackle group is legit. Like the Chargers might have the best tackle duo in the NFL, quite honestly. And I know it's crazy for me to say that because Joe Alt's a rookie, but dude, that translates. His skill set translates to the NFL immediately. Rashawn Slater, you saw it at Northwestern. It translated immediately. You can flip either guy to go to play on either side of the football. It doesn't matter. This tackle group is insane. Like you said, though, the Chargers guards are not good. their guard group is hot booty cheeks. So this is where Jonathan Franklin Myers and where Zach Allen, where DJ Jones, like if man, I really wish that this guy can come back and really show the growth and development because he missed an entire season being suspended for gambling on Broncos games. Ayoma Awazarike is going to eat as in terms of an interior pass rusher against the Chargers. If you can get after the Chargers that way, collapse the interior of the pocket, and make Justin Herbert utilize that athleticism to get to the outside, there's your ticket, quite honestly. Like, you're not going to beat Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater on the outside. You're just not going to do it. I'm not saying it's not possible, but with the Broncos edge rush group the way that it is right now with Jonathan Cooper, with Baron Browning, Nick Benito, Jonah Ellis, like those guys aren't really true Batman that can really work around that. The way you beat the tackles for the Chargers, you beat them inside, and you beat them with guys like Jonathan Franklin Myers, who is an incredible interior pass rusher.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of a case for one of the edge rushers, but it's just kind of hard. I mean, maybe you bet on Nick Benito just being faster, but once either of those guys gets their hands on him, it feels like it's over.
It's over. It's definitely over. For guards, I'm going to go first on this one because, like we just got done crapping all over the guards for the Chargers, but you've got a quality duo in Kansas City, Joe Thuney and Trey Smith, like quality run blockers, quality pass protectors. They pretty much do it all, and then you pair in Creed Humphrey at center. Like I can tie all three of those guys in together because those are the biggest threat. The interior offensive line for the Chiefs is just ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I'm not excited for that. Hopefully, their weakness at tackle is going to be their kryptonite when we face them. But like you mentioned, Creed Humphrey, that guy is an absolute beast. And Trey Smith and Thuney, those are two solid guys on the interior, and that's going to make it easier to protect Mahomes and get more touches to Isaiah Pacheco and make some more holes for him.
I want to give a quick shout out at the center position, though, just quickly, because if Jackson Powers Johnson starts at center for the Raiders, there's a good possibility he could beat out Creed Humphrey for the best center in the division. Like, this dude he's incredible. The athleticism, the power, everything he brings to the fold, his football IQ, like, man. I was so disappointed that he went to the Raiders because I was hoping he was going to fall far enough for the Broncos to go and get him. Because I'm not kidding you, dude. My opinion on him, Eric Trickle, my co-host for Dove Valley Deep Divers, feels pretty much the same way. When Jackson Powers Johnson steps on the field, he's a top 5 player at his position, guaranteed. He's that good. And if he starts at center for the Raiders, he can give Creed Humphrey a run for his money.
Yeah, that name kind of just strikes fear into other people. I think that's just Jackson Powers Johnson. That's kind of insane. But yeah, I think if we're grouping the entirety of the interior together, I'm definitely taking the Chiefs. I'm right there with you.
Yep.
We do have to shout out our boy though, Quinn Miners.
Yeah,
he's absolutely amazing. I hope they get an extension done with him sooner rather than later, because he's going to get real expensive. And I would say he's the biggest bright spot on our offensive line. I do like the development of, or how Garrett Bowles has been playing. I think he's gotten a lot better, and I picked on him a lot in prior years. But I think, Quinn Miners is definitely the guy on that interior for Denver.
So you've got, I just pulled up overthecap.com. Chris Lindstrom, the right guard from the Falcons, has an average per year of 20.5 million. Robert Hunt, who just signed with the Panthers at 20. Zach Martin, Hall of Fame player for what he is with the Dallas Cowboys, 18.4. Kevin Dotson just signed with the Rams in free agency, 16 million. Wyatt Teller with the Browns, 14.2. Miners is definitely pushing that $20 million category. He's going to be very expensive for the Denver Broncos here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, man, him and PS2, we gotta get those done sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Yep.
I'm really hoping for that. All right, let's move to our next position group. We're getting to our linebackers or outside linebackers, edge, whatever you want to call them. Right now, for me, it's between two, and I think I might go with the younger guy in Max Crosby on the Raiders. That guy is an absolute monster. I did not expect him to be this good. I think he's gotten, double-digit sacks 3 times in his career already. He got paid fat. Was it this offseason?
Yeah, he got a $6 million raise this year.
Jesus. But yeah, if I'm looking at outside linebackers, definitely Max Crosby. He was a one-man wrecking crew, especially with Russell Wilson holding on to that ball so long, or just straight up running into sacks even. But the other one I want to look at is the Chargers. Obviously, you got Joey Bosa when healthy. He's a very good player, and then you got the ageless wonder Khalil Mack still kicking, and he's still. I don't know how he does it, man, but he just had to stay in division and wreak havoc, of course. And as for the Chiefs, George Karlaftis, he's pretty solid. But yeah, overall, I think I'm going to have to go with Max Crosby on the Raiders.
I'm right there with you. And Dylan, I'm going to quiz you here just quickly.
Sure.
Do you want to know? So let's go back. I believe it was 2019. This is the first year, I believe, of Vic Fangio coaching the Broncos. Mm-hmm. The offensive coordinator was Rich Scangarello.
Yes.
What was the first play that the Broncos ran that season?
Was it an end around?
It was. It was a tight end. It was a tight end jet sweep with an unblocked edge defender.
Oh my God, that's
Noah Fant. Noah Fant.
Yep.
Who made the play? Who made the play? Max freaking Crosby made that play. Like, this dude's incredible, man. His football IQ is there. The speed, the twitch, the bend, the hand fighting. There's a reason why people are calling him in terms of one of the best edge defenders in the NFL. It's TJ Watt, it's Myles Garrett, it's Micah Parsons, and it's Max Crosby, man. It is without question the biggest threat in terms of a pass rusher coming off the edge in the AFC West. There's no question there. I mean, Joey Bosa, like you said, if he's healthy, he's fine. Khalil Mack, he's a damn good player. Got to give a quick shout to Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who had a really good year last season as a rookie. Mm-hmm. But George Karlaftis, like, those guys work well in a tandem. Game wrecker. Max Crosby, game wrecker. Like, that's the dude. And the only way you stop him, this is where Bo Nix steps in. I do think that the best way to stop Max Crosby from wrecking your game plan, getting the football out quickly. And what did Bo Nix do at the college level so well, better than anybody else? That's why he was drafted in this system for Sean Payton. Get the football out of your hands quickly. If you can do that, you can beat Max Crosby by not even allowing him to get close to you. That's it. Is there any other counter, Dylan? Can you think of anything else? You can't run at him. You run directly at him, he's going to wreck your game. You run away from him, he's going to wreck your game. You hold on to the football, try to throw deep, he's going to wreck your game. Get the goddamn football out of your hands.
Yeah, exactly. McGlinchey got a lot of crap last year, and obviously didn't play super well. But you got Russell Wilson running around trying to do magic tricks back there, even when he didn't need to.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna say that he's gonna hold up against a Max Crosby. You know, dude, that guy's a one-man army, a one-man wrecking crew, and like you said, it's gonna fall on a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix to get rid of that football quickly. You can't give him any time to get to you, and we'll see how that works out. But I'm fairly confident that Nick's gonna flick it out. He did a lot of it in college, so hopefully that translates and can neutralize Max Crosby and all the other vicious edge rushers that we have to face this season.
Yep. I'm right there with you on that one for sure. Interior defensive line. You want to just bundle them all together, essentially?
Yeah, let's just get the rest of that D line in there.
There's two here, and both of them are elite. I kind of spoiled it a little bit. Chris Jones with Kansas City is definitely the guy you got to worry about. But let's not sleep on the fact that the Raiders just signed Christian Wilkins from the Miami Dolphins in free agency. Like, that's a dude, man.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty scared of him and Max Crosby rushing on that same line. That's going to be nightmare scenario for any offensive line, I'd say. Like you mentioned, Chris Jones, he's just same kind of with Max Crosby, except up in the interior, right up in the quarterback's face, pushing the pocket. He wrecks games. I mean, big reason why the Chiefs did so well last season. The offense was kind of farting around there. You know, they had their problems and their struggles, and the defense is what kind of kept them together. And that all starts with getting pressure on the quarterback. And Chris Jones is that man.
Yep.
As for the Chargers,
nobody.
Nothing sticks out at all. Not looking at the depth chart. It's just, no. I would take our defensive line over them, possibly. Like
that might actually be the one position group on this team. And Eric and I crapped all over the Broncos and their defensive line coming into the offseason. And when you go and get a guy like Jonathan Franklin Myers, you bring in Malcolm Roach, hopefully you get Yomo Wazarike back, DJ Jones getting put into the better position here, Zach Allen taking another step forward. I'm predicting a huge season for Zach Allen this year. I think he has 7.5 sacks this year. Like big time success for him. The Chargers defensive line is horrid. It's not good, guys. It's really not good.
Yeah, if you think you could run on the Broncos line, definitely look to do that against the Chargers. That's hopefully going to be a big game for us twice this year.
Odrick estimate for a grand. Let's go.
I had a prediction article for like offensive, defensive stat leaders, and I picked Estime to take over. And I think he will crack that 1,000. Hopefully he does. Not to, I like Pookie. He's great, but that knee scares me, and his vision too is just not. It's just not there. Not where you want it to be.
Nope.
All right, let's move on to our linebackers. Lance, I will kick this one off to you.
All right, so the Raiders linebackers, hashtag not good. Probably worse than the Broncos. This is me saying that coming as a guy that really likes Alex Singleton, Cody Barton. So, Dylan, I'm not sure if you heard this before. There's a nickname going around from multiple teams about Cody Barton. They call him Mr. Backside because he shows his backside to his receiver and he shows his backside to the quarterback all the time. Like, he's a see ball, chase ball linebacker. Alex Singleton has at least some coverage chops there. This Raiders linebacker core is worse, man. It's not good. It's really not good. But going to the good side of the AFC West in terms of what you've got the Chiefs with Leo Chenal and Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton has been a Broncos killer. He's developed so nicely. There was a lot of issues with him coming out of college in terms of being able to drop back into coverage, identifying his landmarks and stuff like that. And he completely changed that. He still brings the hammer in terms of like run defense. Like, he's a hard hitter, but the lack of length that he has, he figured out a way to work around that with his football IQ. And then you got Leo Chenal, who the blitzing ability, the coverage ability, he's so versatile. He's a good tackler. Those guys are just tremendous. They are so good, and they work well in tandem. And then you've got Junior Colson, the rookie draft pick for the for the Chargers, pairing him with Deion Henley, who's an elite coverage linebacker that had a really good season this last year. I think that the Chiefs take the cake here again, but the Chargers have a shout for sure.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that Junior Colson pickup. They got him pretty late, if I remember correctly.
Yep,
but
it was. Yep.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Raiders don't care. Surprisingly, we do have better linebackers than them, and we can hang our hat on, third best. But yeah, Nick Bolton and Leo Chanel, dude. Coming out, I didn't think much of Nick Bolton. I didn't think he projected very well, but he came out and proved me wrong. On the Chiefs, and you get Spags there as the D coordinator, just having his linebackers fly around everywhere, and it's just a pain, especially knowing our linebacker woes for so long. Like having Danny Trevathan and Brandon Marshall, those days are long gone. Man,
I miss Al Wilson so bad.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna get too depressed thinking about that 2015 defense now that we're moving on to the defensive side of the ball. All right, corners. So maybe I'm a little bit biased here. Hey guys, I'm gonna make a Broncos pick here, but mostly because of our number one guy, and that's Patrick Surtain. I am unapologetically think that he is the best corner in the league. He obviously had a down season last season, but when your defensive line's not getting any pressure and you're going to give up some plays, and obviously there are some that he's going to want back, but he still played very well. You look at a Sauce Gardner or a Deron Bland, the other guys who got all pros, what did they have in front of them? An elite defensive line. Getting pressure on the quarterback. You're not covering a wide receiver for 7 seconds at a time. It's just. But, and obviously, I got to give a shout out to. I really like Trent McDuffie. I think he's a really good corner. I'm a big fan of his. I'm happy that L'Jarius Sneed has moved on to the Titans. That's a big blow to them, I think. But McDuffie's great. Still there for them. And for the Chargers, Asante Samuel Jr., another solid corner, young. For the Raiders, Jack Jones, it was funny. He kind of came on. I think he signed kind of late in the season. He played pretty decent, and they have Nate Hobbs over there as well. What are your thoughts, Lance?
So the biggest threat to the Broncos is Trent McDuffie. I don't think that he gets the run that he deserves in terms of being a top 5 cornerback. I do think that he belongs in that conversation. Surtain, obviously, Sauce Gardner, if you want to put him in there, those guys are definitely 1, 2, 1A, 1B, whatever you want to, like, those are the guys for sure. McDuffie belongs in that conversation. Like, absolutely he does. The versatility, he can play inside, play outside, quality tackler, good ball skills. He does so much for that Chiefs defense. It's not even funny. It almost reminds me a little bit of Tyrann Mathieu, where you can just line him up pretty much anywhere all over the field, and he's going to go out there and make a play for you. I want to give a big shout out here, though, to Jack Jones and Nate Hobbs. I think that duo is going to be, I don't want to say maligned, but underappreciated is the way that I think that you need to describe them, because Nate Hobbs and what he was able to do as a small school prospect that was a late round draft pick, he stepped into the nickel and became one of the best nickel defenders in the NFL. Jack Jones, the ball skills and his ability to just go out and make plays whenever. Did you see, I think it was against the Cardinals. The Raiders played the Cardinals, and it was a quick screen pass. Jack Jones jumped the route, caught the ball as he's running beyond the line of scrimmage, caught the ball with his backhand, one-handed, and took it for a pick 6. It was an incredible play.
If I remember correctly, I believe he had a pick 6 against the Chiefs on that Christmas game as well.
He did. Yep. That's right.
He's a monster, and usually when someone leaves the Patriots, they don't play as well. He looked pretty damn good.
So fun connection here. Fun fact for that. Jack Jones was from Arizona State, right? One of the linebackers coach, he was an assistant coach essentially, is none other than, goddamn, what's his name? Their head coach now. Damn it. Who's the Raiders head coach?
He was Pierce, Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, Antonio Pierce. He was the linebackers coach and a consultant for the Arizona State Sun Devils when Jack Jones was there, and kind of took him underneath his wing. And then he got drafted, went to the Patriots, and was a knucklehead again. Then, as soon as he was relieved by the Patriots, Antonio Pierce, right after he got the head coaching job, because Josh McDaniels was fired, Antonio Pierce made it a priority signing for them in terms of waivers to bring him in so that he could have Jack Jones underneath his wing again. And then he turned into a top 15, top 20 cornerback. The guy's a phenomenal football player. He really is. He's got all the skill in the world. He's just a $1 million body with a 2-cent head. And if he
sounds like a Raider.
Exactly. It's absolutely correct. Antonio Pierce has this guy playing incredible football. He's going to be recognized this year as one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. That's my bold prediction for the Raiders. Jack Jones is going to be a phenomenal cornerback in this league.
I like that, man. That's some awesome info there and a bold prediction to boot. I love that. Before we get on to our last position group, I just wanted to pull up a comment from our buddy Keith Brugman. Lance and Dylan on Saturday night. Heck yeah.
What's up, Keith?
Happy to have you in here, man. Always good to see you. Yeah, we're chopping up pretty good here, and shoot, the time's already flying, so we're gonna have to get to our last position group here, which is the safeties. Now, I might have had the Broncos higher with Justin Simmons, but he's still wandering out there in the free agent market. Personally, I have to go with Derwin James. I absolutely love this guy when he's on the field. Another Charger that's injured most of the time, but heavy hitter, great coverage skills, just a nightmare. Especially to take a hit from that dude. He hits like a freaking semi truck. But I do really like the tandem of Justin Reed and Brian Cook. I think they're pretty solid. But who Lance mentioned earlier, Trevon Moehrig and Marcus Epps, I think that's a really solid group there for the Raiders. That's a sneaky good secondary. What are your thoughts there, Lance?
Well, that Raiders secondary really kind of has an overhaul coming to him. Trevon Moehrig is a great single high center fielder type. Marcus Epps, former Wyoming Cowboy, so got to thump my chest on that one. Go Pokes. He can play pretty much anywhere in the secondary as well. He can play in run support, drop down and play some dime backer role if you need him to. He can play. I don't want to say single high, so you need him in like a split field safety look where you need so like cover 2, cover 4, stuff like that. He can play and has enough range to work with that. But you pair in Nate Hobbs, you pair in Jack Jones, you got Trevon Moehrig in there as well. That secondary, they need another cornerback for sure. Like, I don't remember off the top of my head what other cornerbacks they have on that roster, but if they can find another cornerback to play opposite of Jack Jones, I think that they can really be cooking with gas there in that secondary and make it kind of a scary unit, especially with Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby coming off of it. Well, and then you got Tyree Wilson too, the former number 6 overall pick, I think is what he was, out of Texas Tech. Yeah. That defensive end that they had, like there's some fire to work with that Raiders defense this year. So we probably should not sleep on them as much as we have in the last couple of years. So, but in terms of the Chargers, you talked about Derwin James. I got to give a shout out to my guy, Alohi Gilman, former Notre Dame safety, plays like a man with his hair on fire. He's all over the place. He's great in coverage. He's great in run support. He is an awesome blitzer. That's one of the biggest attributes that he brings is he's a crazy blitzer. I say this a lot, and I think the hair kind of brings it out to him because he has this big afro and it kind of comes out the bottom of his helmet. His play style and just the way that he moves, he reminds me of Troy Polamalu in a lot of different ways because he's always around the football. That dude is just ridiculous in terms of his ability to go out there and make plays. Derwin James, Alohi Gilman, that's a quality safety duo for the Chargers. Brian Cook is fun for the Chiefs. Justin Reed is really fun. There's some great athleticism there. But I think you can pick on this Chiefs secondary. I really do. I like, you've got McDuffie. They lose L'Jarius Sneed, so they've got some cornerback issues that they need to address there. I think that Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims, the speed over the top really opens up some holes, because now you have Nick Bolton dropping back. You've got Leo Chenal dropping back. You can really open up the middle of the field against this Chiefs defense. So I think that Mims and Franklin are the way to go to counteract the big players for the safeties in this division.
Yeah, we haven't been able to talk much speed on this Broncos offense for quite a while. And
yep.
I mean, I think we had KJ Hamler for a while, but he could never stay healthy. So
yeah,
that
Greg
always
Dulcich.
fell flat. Greg Dulcich, yeah. Oh God, yeah. He's been awesome when he's out there. But that's another thing. When he's out there. So wow, we ran through that just within the hour. Great job on us. I definitely think we could have been a lot more long-winded, but we managed to wrangle ourselves in here a little bit, and that was great having that conversation with you, Lance. And as always, our boy Michael Ronquillo comes in to close us out. Great show tonight, Lance and Dylan. Orange and Blue View, go Broncos. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for showing up every night and showing your support. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah, Mike, it's always great to see you join the show. Your support is always greatly appreciated. We always give you big shout outs, but man, morning, night, Sunday through Saturday, every single time that we go live, you're always in here and showing the support. We definitely appreciate that. Keith is another great supporter. He jumped in a little bit late, but if you guys are looking for more Broncos content, Keith is another good dude in this Broncos space. Go check out Denver Broncos Roundup every Tuesday. He does another show over there with the Mile High Huddle Roundtable. So check out their work. Great dude. Thank you, Keith, for joining us. And thank you, Dylan, for having me. Let me just do my quick spiel here. It's great to have everybody here on a wonderful Saturday evening. Thank you all for joining us. You all stay safe and take care. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys same time, same place next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. I think that'll about do it for us. All right. And let me just throw this up here. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at milehighhuddle.com. Grab some merch, please. I have one of the very first shirts that Chad came up with sitting up here. Don't be like me. Go get you some new stuff. Get your swag on, guys. And I think that's about gonna do it. Any final words for us, Lance?
No, I think the last thing here, I'm going to put it up on the bottom of the screen, is just make sure, guys, no matter where you are, subscribe to Mile High Huddle, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, anywhere you guys get your social media content. Subscribe to Mile High Huddle. It helps out a lot. Like every video and article you guys see across those social media platforms. And if you love it, you love what we do here, please share it, guys, because without your guys' support, we could not do what we do best, which is cover your Denver Broncos.
That's exactly right. And let's just shout out just our superstars from tonight. DTR coming in early. Thank you so much, DTR. Michael Ronquillo, as always, and David McGilrath. Thank you guys so much. You allow us to keep doing this, and just having you guys listen to us yap for an hour or so, that's the dream, man. That's what we love to do. So thank you for joining us all, and we will see you next Saturday. Go Broncos.